Welcome back. We're at the point where we go through the FUB, the follow-up booklet with people to finish off. Now, if you've got a laminated G7, on page 22 is a suggested way to finish off, complete with underlined words or action words to remind you to point to the relevant part of your follow-up booklet. Now, if you're using the app, there's a couple of options for you. After the review, there's a response page, and if the person chooses 2 or 3 and is willing to give you their email address, then the app will automatically send them a customized email with a link to the electronic version of the follow-up booklet. So all you need is the app to share. But I would suggest that you get some actual follow-up booklets and have them with you. Why? Well, sometimes people are reluctant to give away their email address, and there is a chance that your email won't get through the spam filters or it could be deleted. But if you have a physical booklet, then you can give it to them on the spot. You can explain so that they understand where to go to get the information that they need, and unless they actually throw it out, it will physically be in their home for them and anyone else to access. So although you have the electronic version, I still think the physical booklet is the better choice. You can print these yourself for free, or you can order these booklets from our website. Note that if you are using the laminated G7, page 22 is not like a gospel script. You don't need to say it word for word. As long as you cover the main parts, it's fine. But it is written out for you as an example. Now, you won't be able to read it anyway because you'll be holding the follow-up booklet. So if you're trying to read off here and then you're trying to turn over here, show them it's just not going to work. So let's see how this works in real life to help people. Did you see The Passion of the Christ when it came out in the movie?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes,
Pretty gory, eh?
Yeah.
But the first part of this explains why Jesus had to die on the cross, and it goes through what we've already covered here today.
Okay, cool.
The second part is how to be forgiven, how to have that ability to return and surrender, and this will really clarify for you, Travis, and it'll help both of you, because you said you're on your way to hell, and that would be terrible.
Yeah,
so if you go through those 7 hard attitudes in there and get 7 out of 7, it's not about being a perfect person, but about a right-hearted attitude with God. If you get 7 out of 7, it means you're ready to pray this prayer here, surrendering your life. And if you do, and you're genuine about it, you can be absolutely certain you go to heaven with your life, which is awesome. The last part talks about how your life changes after becoming a Christian. Like, what does God do for you? How does He change you?
Yeah.
Helps you understand a bit more about who you are and why you do some of the things you do. Now, here's me in the back here. It's my name and email address. So if you want to contact me, get in contact anytime. There's also a website, answersaboutlife.com, which answers questions like, what about the other religions, or how can I know the Bible is really true? So it's helpful. I'll give you one for both of you.
Okay, cool.
And Now let's work our way through how to do this. The lead-in line is, we've put this booklet together to help people. Now note that your follow-up booklet may look different to this one. The cover of the follow-up booklet changes from time to time, and here's 2 examples of ones that we've produced. Now, whatever's on the cover, just briefly show them and then turn the page and explain that while most people have heard of Jesus dying on the cross, this booklet explains why Jesus died on the cross. And we've already covered this first section. The second section shows how to be forgiven and how to turn and surrender. And note I just flicked straight to the second section. I didn't go through page by page. If you go through page by page, the second section, it just takes way too long. So just flick. So you're either going through one page at a time or flicking the whole way through the follow-up booklet. So the second section shows us how to be forgiven, how to turn and surrender. There's 7 hard attitudes in here, and this helps you to know whether you're ready to become a Christian. And if you do get 7 out of 7 and you're genuine about that and you pray this prayer, you can be absolutely certain you're going to heaven. Now that's a great line to memorize, because they are the words that people are wanting to hear. They've confessed they're on their way to hell. They don't want a book review, they want to know the solution. How do I make it into heaven? So this is the main point of what we're trying to communicate that this booklet contains. The solution to their problem, and it's worth taking and reading. The last section talks about what happens after you become a Christian. It's really interesting. Now you'll see at the back here is a website, answersaboutlife.com, with some interesting answers to important questions like, what about the other religions, or how can I know if the Bible's really true? Now these are two key questions that people have, so I like to read them and show them that there is answers for them in here. Now my details are in here, and if you've got any questions or feedback, I'd love to hear from you. So make sure you write your details in the back so that they can contact you if they like. Now, if you're sharing with a friend, then you obviously wouldn't bother with this line, as they already have your details and you can chat with them at any time. But if you're concerned about going through the G7 and whether this will affect your friendship, you may like to add in a line, something like, hey, I'd love to hear from you, and if you've got any questions, then I'll leave it to you to ask me. And that way that they know that you're not going to hound them about it every time you're seeing them, and that you're just leaving it with them and respecting them. So, but also showing that your door's always open. So we're at the point where we give them the follow-up booklet, and then we're asked, so was that okay? Was that helpful? Do you have any questions? Now, giving them the booklet's a body language way of saying, we're all done. You're free to go if you want. So that way they won't feel like they're being trapped. So there's two things to avoid. One is holding on to the booklet and saying, have you got any questions? And that they're like, well, hey, I thought this was only 6.5 minutes, and now I feel like I've got to stay around and talk. But if you give them the booklet, they feel like they're free to go. The other thing you don't want to do is just to go, oh, there we go, thanks for that, see ya, and then you're on your way, because then you're not respecting that they may want to talk and share what they believe, and they may have some questions. So you want to have a balance of the two, giving them the booklet but still being available to talk with them. Now when you do finish having a chat, you want to finish with some positive affirmations like, hey, thanks so much for your time. I really hope you found this interesting. Really good to meet you today. When I get to heaven, I'm going to be looking for you there. So I hope you make it. Things like that. I'm going to be praying for you. Have a great day. Those sort of comments really help at the end. Make it authentic though, make it yourself, but make sure that they go away with their dignity intact and feeling like this was a really positive experience.
I'll give you one to both of you.
Okay. Cool.
And how was that today?
Oh, that was good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Pretty cool?
Yeah. It's good.
Was it clear?
Yeah. It was better with the way you explained it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I probably would have tuned out if you didn't have that.
Yeah. It's good having something visual, isn't it?
Yeah, well, because most people in today's world, most people are going to be visual in learners and
Absolutely.
and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, particularly young people.
Yeah.
Everything's visual.
Yeah. I know I am.
Yeah. That's cool. So have you got any questions for me, or is it?
No, you explained pretty well through that. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, when we get it to heaven, we're going to be looking around for you guys. So we've got to make sure.
I got your number, so it's all good.
You got my number, good.
Yep.
No problem at all. Well, you got the information there, and you got my details. So if you want any more, you're welcome to contact me. But I really appreciate your time today.
That's okay.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
Yeah. All right.
How did you get on? It's good when you practice at home to time yourself going through the FUB. It should take about a minute. You've already had 6.5 minutes, so you can't take a long time to go through the follow-up booklet. It should be very quick. I want to point out a few things in the follow-up booklet. You may have noticed when you read it that there's scriptures down the bottom, and they're written out in full, as we don't want to assume that people will either have a Bible or know how to look up the references. There's a great illustration, the sheep illustration, that I've used many times with non-Christians. It's worth remembering and having up your sleeve. The 7 hard attitudes in the second section is a reflection of repentance, and we're going to talk more about that later in this session. In the third section, it is about how your life would change if you became a Christian. Now this goes through how we are saved, we are being saved, and we will be saved. So it's justification, sanctification, and glorification. Now of course we don't use that terminology, but we're communicating in a language that people can understand. This is a really great section, so have a read of this and familiarise yourself with it. There's a lot of people, intelligent people, if they're going to give their whole lives over to God, they go, well, what will my life be like? And so this section goes through what their life would be like, how their life would change, and also how God is going to change them from the things that take away from life to give them life and life to the fullest. So it's an excellent section. And then of course you've got the website in the back. Before you leave the person, you want to find out where they're at. You may not know this already by the end of the presentation, but either way, it is good to get them to give you their response. You can do this right at the end, or you can do it before going through the follow-up booklet. Their response actually leads perfectly into this, providing they don't pick option number 1. So just read the response page and allow them to answer as they want to.
And I got your answer.
Hey, out of interest, just as in response to that, to the presentation, which one would you say that you were out of those 4?
Probably the second or third.
Yeah, I'd be second. I'd like to look. I'd like to go to church and stuff and just talk to and stuff about it a bit more. Yeah, trying my best. Yeah, so I'm really enjoying it.
Remember, you're talking a lot about your goodness and trying your best.
Yeah, I
and
try my
stuff,
best
which
with what I can.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. But at the end of the day, none of us can actually get there on doing our best.
Yeah.
Because our best is not
You
good
have to be
enough.
perfect.
Yeah, and we can't be. So that's why we've now got to rely on Jesus. It's only because of Him dying on the cross for us that we can make it. It's like you've just got to surrender your life and go, I can't do it on my own.
Yeah.
I've got to give my life over to Him. And
Okay.
He's the only one that can save me. He's the only one that can do it. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, good on you guys. That's great.
Yeah.
So you've got people that you can talk to more about this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. That's excellent. All right. Well, I'll leave you with it.
Okay.
And appreciate you allowing us to film this as well.
That's okay.
Which statement would you say best describes your response to this presentation after seeing that?
I'd say I'd like to explore it further.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So that's great. Now, do you have someone that you know who can help you with this?
Yeah, I do actually. Very close.
All right. Well, look, I'm really happy to chat with you anytime about this. I mean, this is like, to me, it's the most important thing ever. Like our whole eternity rests on this. The ramifications are massive. So, be great to chat to you more about it and see if there's anything stopping you from, getting back to what you were earlier on in your life when you made that commitment.
Yep.
So, but it's no pressure. It's your call. It's between you and God. But
That's it.
Anything I can do to help, obviously, I want to be able to do that.
That's great.
So
I appreciate it, Stu.
yeah. Do you want to put your email address in there, and it'll send you a link to a free e-booklet, and it just gives you a bit more information about that whole surrendering your life over.
Yeah.
And that way you can sort of just have a read in your own time as well. And let me know what you think of it, and if there's any questions or anything. So
Too easy.
if they do choose option number 1, I don't normally give them a follow-up booklet. I give them a card with answersaboutlife.com on it. They won't be motivated to read the follow-up booklet until they believe it could be true. At answersaboutlife.com, they're presented with good answers to potential blockages for them coming to faith. And then there is a PDF of the FUB at the site anyway. These cards are great to give out in your day-to-day life, so it's so easy to use. So I'd encourage you to make some up or to order some from the TTP website. Notice that if you have the G7 laminate, there's a couple of extra illustrations on the back that you can use if you want to, like the Church Fathers. We don't have time in this series to teach you these, but if you apply the same principles as the rest of the G7, you'll be able to pick up what you need to do. These will become available in a future update for the app as well, which is very exciting. Over the last couple of sessions, we've talked a lot about lordship and repentance. So let's have a look at the 7 hard attitudes in a bit more detail and evaluate for yourself whether you think they're a fair reflection of repentance. These are what you'd go through with a person if they chose option number 4 and wanted to surrender to Jesus right away. You can find them in the second section. If they agree with all the attitudes, they're ready to pray a prayer of commitment to Christ. Now, they can just read this prayer, or you can give them the option of praying it line by line after you. Now, remind them that this is not about the words, but about what's going on in their heart that matters, and God sees their heart. I like to pray for them after they're finished, and if you do this, just keep it simple, short, and jargon-free. Then encourage them to be baptized. Depending on the circumstance, that may be even you baptizing them and could even be on the same day. Very exciting. Before you leave them, work out how you're going to stay in touch with them and help them in their new life as a Christian. There's more information on Follow-Up Booklet in your manual. What do you think? Are these attitudes well written to reflect repentance? Hopefully going through this has given you the confidence that when you're using the Follow-Up Booklet, you can know that it's well thought out, theologically sound, and yet easy to understand for someone without a church background. Well, you've now learnt how to create the opportunity to share the gospel, how to connect and build rapport, how to clearly articulate the gospel, how to finish positively, and how to get a response from the person. All that's needed now is to practice so that you're confident and ready to go. Remember to complete your discussion questions, and next session we'll be talking about some keys to staying motivated for evangelism, and we're going to set some goals. So have a think between now and then about some goals that you might want to use for the G7. Remember your BNS, and I'll see you soon for the final session.